name's Hydo, and welcome to the Pantheon, where today we're having a look at a rather slippery monstrosity that lives below the ocean surface. It's Octavia, living Thesis, who weighs in at 10 mana. But thankfully, we can reduce that cost. So, this spell costs 8 less to cast if you have 8 or more instant and/or sorcery cards in your graveyard. And he has Ward 8, which means any spell or ability that targets him, your opponents have to pay 8 more. So that Path to Exile now costs you 9 mana. And Magecraft, whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, target creature has base power and toughness 8/8 until the end of turn. Pretty damn cool. Finally, he's an 8/8 himself. So I think there are actually 8/8s on this card, which works really, really well, you know. Nice bit of synergy. It's what people like to see, isn't it? And it's a really cool card. Everyone loves a big octopus, so why shouldn't you? Without further ado, let's have a look at the top 5. Coming in at number 5, we've got Mental Note. Now, this is a card that it's just Thought Scour, except you can't target anyone else. But in this deck, we only want to target ourselves. 1 mana for an instant. Put the top 2 cards of your library into your graveyard. Draw a card. Simple, efficient, gets an instant sorcery into your graveyard, and you're potentially milling 2 more. Thought Scour, of course, exactly the same card. 1 mana instant, target player mills 2 cards. Milling us. Draw a card. Then, to round this out, a couple more cantrips that you want in the deck. Catachum Probe, you can either pay 2 life or a blue mana for a sorcery. Look at target player's hand. Draw a card. There you go, you're just filling up your graveyard. We want to get to that cost reduction of 8 mana. Then, careful study. 1 blue, draw 2 cards, and discard 2 cards from your hand. This is card disadvantage, not filtering, but it's still going to do well, isn't it? It's going to really get those reductions for our commander, which is what we want. Brings me on to number 4. So we've reduced the cost a bit. Why don't we dump some more cards in a few different ways as well that aren't particularly cantrips? Teferi Master of Time is a 4 mana Teferi Planeswalker. You may activate loyalty abilities to Teferi on any player's turn as long as you can play an instant. Then, +1, draw a card and discard a card. Filtering through, you can just dump things into your graveyard. Then, -3, target creature you don't control phases out. So you just treat it as if it's gone. It's just vanished. Finally, -10, take 2 extra turns after this one. So there is quite a real possibility that you could get to this, as if he doesn't get attacked, we're going to be putting 4 counters on him every circle of the table. So by the time 2 turn circles are gone, we could potentially be getting 2 extra turns, which is quite powerful with our commander. Jace Vryn's Prodigy is a card very similar to this. 2 mana for a 0/2. You can tap it to draw a card and discard a card. Then, if 5 or more cards are in your graveyard, exile it and it comes back as Jace Telepath Unbound, which is a Planeswalker, +1, up to 1 target creature gets -2 mana so till your next turn. -3, you may cast target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard this turn. If that card we put there, exile it instead. So, fills the graveyard, and then we can recast those spells, so getting a bit of value from it. Pieces of the puzzle. 3 mana for a sorcery. Reveal the top 5 cards of your library. Put 2 of the... Pardon me. Put up to 2 instant and/or sorcery cards from them into your hand, and the rest into your graveyard. So, potentially, if you really want to reduce Octavian, you could take no instant or sorceries and just dump them into your graveyard. Wouldn't recommend it. You may as well just take them and then cast them. To go along with this, Searcher has Canter. Nice little enchantment here. 2 mana for enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, look at the top card of your library. You may put it into your graveyard. Then, if you have 7 more cards in your graveyard, you may transform it into as Canter the Sunken Ruin. So, because it becomes a land, I could technically cast this as ramp. Pretty cool. So, it's attached for a blue. Then you can pay 3 and tap it. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a non-creature, non-land card from among them. Put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of the library in any order. Excellent little filtering tool. Gets you to the spells you want to get. Finally, Read the Runes is a blue and X for an instant. Draw X cards. For each card drawn this way, discard a card unless you sacrifice a permanent. So, can fill the graveyard, or if you just got a bunch of spare permanents that you don't want, sacrifice them, refill your hand. Really powerful effect. Which brings us on to number 3. And in at number 3, we want to make a bunch of tokens because our commander can make them into 8/8. And who doesn't love a massive army of 8/8? Shark Typhoon is a 6-mana enchantment. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create an XX blue shark creature token with flying, where X is that spell's converted mana cost. Then it has Cycling, the best ability ever printed in Magic, for 2 blue and X, where you discard this card and draw a card. When you cycle it, create an XX blue shark token with flying. Wonderful. Wonderful. Absolutely love the card. It's brilliant. So to go along with this, a couple of other token makers. Docent of Perfection. 5 mana for a 4/4, I think it is, with flying. And whenever you cast an instant sorcery spell, put a 1/1 blue human wizard token onto the field. Then, if you have 3 or more wizards, transform it into final iteration over here. There he is. Flying, wizards you control get +2/+1 and have flying. Whenever you cast an instant sorcery spell, put a 1/1 blue human wizard token onto the battlefield. All these 1/1s, they're going to become 8/8s with our commander. Talaran Sky Summoner, 4 mana. Whenever you cast an instant sorcery spell, create a 2/2 Drake token. Nice. Then, a couple more, very similar. Murmuring Mystic, 4 mana for a 1/5. Whenever you cast an instant sorcery spell, create a 1/1 blue flying token. Metallurgic Summonings, 5 mana. Enchantment, whenever you cast an instant sorcery spell, create an XX Colors Construct Artifact Creature token, where X is that spell's converted mana cost. And you can pay 5 and exile it. Return all instant sorcery cards from your graveyard to your hand. Activate this ability only if you control 6 or more artifacts. Really cool, can restock your hand. Yes, our commander will then cost 10 again, but we're going to be recasting all the spells. Eventually he'll be nice and cheap. Rise on the Tides is a 6 mana sorcery. Create a tap 2/2 bleak zombie creature token for each instant sorcery card in your graveyard. So we want to fill up the graveyard. This just gets us a massive army from doing that. Which brings us on to number 2. And it's not legal in Commander, but sod it. Just play it. Who cares? Crow Storm. 3 mana for a sorcery. Create a 1/2 blue bird creature token with flying. Named Stormcrow. Storm. So whenever you cast a spell, copy it for each spell you cast before it this turn. This is incredibly powerful because we want to make an army, and Magecraft triggers on whenever you cast or copy a spell. So this is an army in a can that also will make a ton of our previous creatures into 8/8s for the turn. So I just think this card is so synergistic and works so fantastically well with this commander. Why wouldn't you put it in? You just have a bunch of flying 8/8s knocking around. And, you know, the art's wonderful. Look, it is a storm made of crows. Great. To go along with this, some actual storm cards, you know, for people that want to play the game correctly. Brain Freeze, 2 mana for an instant. Target player puts the top 3 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. Storm. We're going to target ourselves with that to make Octavia nice and cheap and just fill it up with all the potentially cool cards that we could have in our deck. Temporal Fissure, 5 mana. Sorcery, return target opponent to its owner's hand with Storm. If you get a Storm count of 10, maybe, I don't really know how you're going to, but you could potentially bounce all of the lands your opponents control. Really, really good. And you're going to have a bunch of 8/8s flying about. Fluster Storm, 1 blue, instant, counter target instant sorcery spell, unless you control page 1. So with this, I actually feel like you, on your own turn, you want your creatures to be 8/8s on your turn so you can attack in. I think Fluster Storm's probably going to be targeting your own spell. Just some little cantrip that you don't care about countering, and then you just get a bunch of triggers from your commander. All of your creatures are 8/8. Pretty good. Then, a couple of other sort of army in a can cards. Well, Maximize Altitude isn't, but Jumpstart is a really cool mechanic, so you can discard a card to recast this from the graveyard. Gets another trigger for our commander. Pretty nice. And it gives a target creature +1/+1, again flying until end of turn. So we're going to have a couple 2 9/9 flyers for just 2 mana. Master Waves, 4 mana for a 2/1. Protection from red. Elemental creatures you control get +1/+1. When it enters the battlefield, create a number of 1/0 blue elemental creature tokens to the battlefield equal to your devotion to blue. Obviously, we're a mono blue deck, so hopefully we're going to have quite a bit of devotion. And then there's our army. They're all 1/0s. Oops, we've cast a bunch of spells. They're now 8/8s. Nadir Kraken, really cool card. 3 mana, 2/3. Whenever you draw a card, if you do, you may pay 1. If you do, put a 1/1 counter on it and create a 1/1. Just a nice little army. We're going to draw a bunch of cards in this deck. May as well make some dudes. Don't know what the hell happened there. Anyway, on to number 1. This is a card I've been wanting to put in a deck for ages, and it fits perfectly into this deck. Quiet Speculation. 2 mana. Sorcery. Search target player's library for up to 3 cards with flashback and put them into that player's graveyard. Then that player shuffles his or her library. We're going to target us. You could target your opponent. I don't know why, but you could. But with this, it's a 2 mana card that not only puts 1 instant and sorcery into the graveyard, it puts 3 others as well. So this is 4 of the 8 cards for our Octavian to be costing 8 less. And that is just some wonderful value. And even late game, these are cards with flashback that we want to be actually casting from our graveyard. Echo of Eons is a 6 mana sorcery. Each player shuffles his or her hand and graveyard into their library and draws 7 cards. So say we've run out of resources, this can really restock our hand and we're ready to go. The flashback cost is even 3 as well, which is a time twister. Wonderful, wonderful card. Think Twice, 2 mana, instant, draw a card. That's it. Flashback for 3 mana. Very simple, very clean, very nice. Gets us a trigger of Magecraft. Wonderful. Deep Analysis, 4 mana. Sorcery. Target player draws 2 cards. Target me. Flashback for 2 mana and pay 3 life. The 3 life really doesn't matter. I love these flashback cards that cost less as well. They're so nice. And you just get to draw a bunch of cards. And that's always, always good. Finally, a couple of other ones, more situational. And like the cheap ones, they really allow us to get a couple of cheap Magecraft triggers. Artful Dodge, 1 mana sorcery. Target creature is unblockable this turn. Flashback, 1 blue. Oh, cool. We get to get in with a massive 8/8. Really nice. Defy Gravity. 1 mana, instant. Target creature gains flying on its lines of turn. Again, we've got an 8/8 flying this time. We've picked up an Octopus and chucked him. Wonderful. Dream Twist, 1 mana instant. Target player puts the top 3 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. Flashback for 2. So if we get this with our, what's it called? Quiet Speculation, we can then target ourselves and hopefully we'll get to that 8. Really, really cool card and absolutely fantastic. And those are my top 8 cards. No, top 5 cards. I'm in Octopus mode for this brand new commander, and it's really cool. It's an interesting aggro token based deck, and that's something I like to see. If you like this video, please subscribe and like, and thank you very much for watching. Bye.